Matthew, it's been a hot minute.
It's been a while,
I
but we're
think I think people probably think we died after Intoxicated Combat. Intoxicated Combat was our last thing that we did
yeah, it
on
was.
this channel. What a way to go out. But we're not out. We're not out yet. Unlike Nate Robinson, we're waking
Oh,
back up. All right? We're
he's
ready to
still
go.
unconscious to this day.
They haven't scraped him off the mat yet. He's still there. But we have we woke up the way Tyson Fury did when he got dropped in that first Deontay Wilder fight, and he woke up like the fucking Undertaker, ready to take some souls. That's us. We're back, taking souls, taking names. All right. So just to give some insight, we didn't die after Intoxicated Combat. In fact, Intoxicated Combat was the last time in my life that I've had fun prior to this moment. The reason is we've both been just, super busy people with school and work and such. And the cards have been kind of poo poo lately.
A little bit,
COVID has
a little
been
bit.
hitting very hard. COVID's been hitting Uncle Dana's pockets, been hitting the cards. Um, Everything's been kind of shit. So we took a small hiatus, but we're back. Like
We're
I
back
said,
and we're
here to
stronger. I,
here
I
to take
feel like
souls.
rejuvenated. I'm ready to
I
take
feel
souls.
rejuvenated as well. I feel excited.
hmm
Even though this card was not, I mean, it was fine. Like, it wasn't terrific. It
I mean, it
wasn't
kind of went
awful.
through some stuff. We had a couple. I think the main event got altered twice, right? I forget who was Jack's original
Yeah, it
opponent.
got
Darren
altered
Till or
like
some shit.
three
I can't even
times.
remember.
I think it was supposed to be Darren
It was so
Till, then
so
it was
long
Kevin
ago. Yeah.
Holland, then it was Marvin Vettori. Main event, though, was outstanding. The overall
Oh yeah.
card, whatever. But the main event, which we'll get to in a bit,
There's
very,
actually some
very
some
good fight.
interesting moments in this card on the lower end of the spectrum, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
wasn't the worst card.
I thought that one dude died
Yeah,
in
Matt
the
Wyman,
first fight.
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that
was
was
real
rough.
spooky.
The way
So
he just, oh man, the way that Jordan Levitt just braced his neck and then put all the force into the slam. That was tech. That I've never seen that technique before. Usually they just slam them, but that was calculated.
yeah,
He doesn't
very
look like a
spooky.
killer, but he's a killer.
Jordan Levitt's a spooky individual. I get the feeling he's like a serial killer or rapist or something.
Me too.
He was on Contender. He was on Contender, had a terrific performance, and then afterwards did like a little split twerk in the octagon,
I
and it
remember
really
that.
people were, you know,
That
taken
was
aback.
him.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
yeah.
I
And
didn't
then
I
he
didn't
did
know
the
it was the same
worm.
guy. Yeah.
So then Dana let this serial killer into the UFC, and then he comes in last night against Matt Wyman. Goes for a double leg. Matt Wyman tries to like pull guard or something. Very weird
It was
decision
weird,
to
yeah.
make there. And then Jordan carries him over to his own corner, posts up with his forearm on Matt's neck, and then slams him down directly on his head. And props to Jordan for seeing probably before anyone else that Matt Wyman was unconscious and didn't feel the need to hit him anymore and just kind of got up and ended the fight. But Jesus Christ, Matt Wyman was down for a good bit. Uh, I was convinced his neck was broken. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
there's no way
Something screwed
this
up in there
guy,
at least.
there's no way his neck is not broken. I mean, I was very relieved when I saw him like sit up and then eventually stand up and walk out. Um, yeah, that was one of the spookiest KOs I've ever um,
I, I I'm
witnessed.
very disappointed we didn't get to see him do his post fight celebration. I wanted to see some twerking action after
He
killing
did
a
a
man,
split. I think he did a split. I don't think he shook his ass as
No, I'm
much.
looking for him to shake his ass after killing someone. That's the icing on the cake. Uh, I'm very surprised that Wyman just pulled guard like that. So soon, right
Yeah,
into the fight.
a
He didn't even try to
not a good
fight it.
decision.
He just latched on like a puppy. It was strange.
I
So
think
I
he can.
can't say that it was totally, I mean, he gave Jordan the opportunity. I'm not gonna knock him for taking it, right? Like that was
He
a
did. Yeah.
perfect
I think
execution.
that's along the lines of what Dom was saying too. Dom was like, if you're gonna pull guard at this stage of the game, like at this, against people this advanced, You gotta be ready to get slammed. Like, oh, it was painful to watch. But hey, congrats to Jordan Leavitt for really just emphasizing how much of a batshit crazy ice cold serial killer he is. And I'm glad Matt Wyman's alive. Happy about that. Always happy when someone lives through a fight.
Unless it's
Yeah.
James Vick.
James Vick, yeah, I mean he's been murdered a couple times, but he's alive, except he got cut by the UFC, I believe.
Oh, speaking of cuts,
Ooh,
I know you brought this up last night, but Dana White has mentioned that he needs to cut around 60 people in the coming weeks because the
yeah.
roster's too inflated. Do you think that has anything to do with the mass amounts of contender series contracts that he's been
I
just
was
whipping
thinking the
out?
same thing. I was thinking the same exact thing last night when I heard him say that at the post-fight press conference. Yeah, it has to. I think there's a number of things. So you have right now everything is fucked up because of COVID. They're definitely taking a massive financial hit. Uh, and you have a roster with a lot of older dudes that Alexa, hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what
Sorry,
happened?
my Alexa started freaking out. I was trying
Oh,
to shut it up before it started.
but anyway,
Sorry.
you have a roster with a lot of older guys that are I don't want to say like taking up space, but you have Yoel Romero, you have Anderson Silva, or at least I don't know if Anderson Silva is still technically on the roster, but you have a lot of guys that have stuck around for a while, lost a lot, aren't necessarily the draws they once were, haven't been putting on the best performances. And then you have these younger guys coming up, younger guys and girls coming up who are doing things like Jordan Leavitt is doing, contender alum that is out there putting on spectacular highlight reel, knockouts. And I'm willing to bet that these younger people, because they're so hungry and they're so desperate to get into the organization and just make a name for themselves, they're willing to fight for peanuts. Whereas you have guys like Yoel who just made like with $30 million from a lawsuit over this supplement company or something along those lines, who probably doesn't want to fight for scraps anymore, and who could blame him? So yeah, this makes a lot of sense. It feels shitty because um throughout this whole pandemic you had Dana preaching about how the UFC is, you know,
Unaffected.
yeah, we're unaffected. We're going through this whole thing, no problem. We're not laying anybody off. And now the end of 2020 and we're looking at 60 cuts. Well, what the fuck happened? Obviously, it's not going as well as you would lead us to believe. I mean, I would say it's going better than other sport. They're probably in a better place right now than um say the NFL or the MLB, who really struggled getting through their season, or still getting through their seasons throughout all of this. But I mean, we're putting on this facade like everything is hunky dory. Obviously, it's not. If you have to cut 60 people, and you know, we're doing contender through all of this, where we're taking on all this new talent, like just bucket loads of new fighters through this season of contender series. Maybe it wasn't a terrific idea to run that during this pandemic where things are so tight and you're losing your gait, and just everything's bad. Everything's bad right now. No one is thriving through this pandemic unless maybe you're fucking Zoom. I don't know.
Unless Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
I did some research while you were talking about that right now. I wanted to see, Dana said 60 fighters are being cut most likely in the next coming week, so it makes sense to say, are there 60 flyweights right now on the UFC roster? Is that a division just getting axed? Even though, it's got some new life in it. But I looked up how many flyweights are in the UFC. How many do you think are currently enlisted under contract right now? I'm curious. What do you think?
Oh man. I'm gonna say less than 30.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
25.
you were close. 22 flyweights under contract, including Davidson Figueiredo. That's
God
really
damn,
interesting to
dude.
think about. That's about 20 out of 500, I think.
I'm telling you, dude, if it wasn't for Figueiredo, that division
yeah,
would be cut right now. The thing is,
100%.
Figueiredo is 100% your fighter of 2020. This dude's making one of the quickest turnarounds in title fight history in like what, a week or two when he fights Brandon Moreno. Dude just fought last week and he's going to fight again. Um, he he's a big reason, and it's not just him. I mean, you have these you have these up and coming hungry flyweights like Brandon Moreno, and we saw what's his face, Louis Smolka. He put on a pretty nice
Yeah.
performance last night at 125. So yeah, I mean you can't axe that division right now because everyone's talking about, wow, flyweight is on the rise, like it's doing a lot better than it once did during the Demetrius Johnson, Henry Cejudo days. Now it's got some life in it with the God of War, Davison Figueiredo. He's a very exciting guy to watch. Um, Totally has star potential. I choose to believe that the red streak through his head is a tribute to Kratos. I don't know if that's the case, but his nickname's God of War, the Red, Kratos, whatever.
There's too many coincidences here. This has got to be what he means. Yeah,
It's got to be. He's got to be a God of War video game fan. So I respect him automatically for that. God of War is fucking awesome. But yeah, it doesn't make sense to cut flyweight right now. And I bet Dana's kind of kicking himself for that. Either maybe he wishes he did it soon, like cut flyweight
Yeah.
sooner, or maybe not because you have Divison who's kind of saving a lot of cards right now, especially with your other boy who is making quick turnarounds. Hamzat is out right now, COVID. Or did he get it or did Leon get it? One of
No,
them
they
got it.
thought Kamzat got it, and then we learned that it was actually Leon. Everyone was freaking
Okay.
out about Kamzat, but then it was his opponent who actually had
Yeah.
it. So I guess the leakers and the people that were spreading these rumors got a little messed up. But what a shame for Leon, though. Just to talk about that for one
dude,
second.
this guy just can't get a
catch
fight.
a break. Yeah,
Can't get a fight.
I mean, I think he said he's fighting very soon, though. I think they're rescheduling him as soon as possible, so that's good. But
Yeah.
it's a shame that I guarantee you something else will probably go wrong, in his camp or his recovery with COVID. This man is not going to catch a break, I don't think, in 2020. 2021, he'll have the best year of his life, guaranteed.
2021 is Leon Edwards' year.
Yes.
He's taking on Kamaru Usman. He's becoming a champion.
He's taking on Stipe. He's taking on everybody. he's clearing out the roster.
It's going to be interesting because Leon, it's been so long since we've seen him fight, but he's dominant, dude. Like, the guy is no joke. His style reminds me a bit of Colby Covington's.
He just got a fight against Jorge. That's exciting, isn't it?
Who?
Colby Covington.
Oh, I didn't
Speak
hear
of the
about
devil.
this.
Yeah.
When did this happen?
Dana announced it. I don't know if the contracts are signed yet, but that is in the works.
Colby and Gamebred
versus Masvidal. Oh, that's
a good fight. That's a real good fight. Battle of the
That's a
Trump
really good fight.
supporters.
Yeah, I think they're targeting it, and they said they're working on the paperwork and the contracts, but nothing is official. So it could always fall apart, as these things sometimes do. But you just gotta pray to the MMA gods. What's up? What do you
I'm gonna make a spicy prediction right now.
I want to hear it.
Colby is gonna eat him alive.
Yeah, probably.
Eat him alive. If the performance against Usman is any indication, Jorge struggles with these clinch heavy fighters.
The foot stompers, if you will.
The foot stompers.
Yeah.
I think Colby. Oh man, dude, Colby is
just
so
on another level.
Freaking good.
Yeah.
He's so good. Nate, Jesus. Jorge looks good against guys like Nate, who are a little more brawler oriented. Like Nate's gonna go in there and stand with you and bang, and you don't want to do that with Jorge Masvidal. Like that's his. This is a backyard brawler we're talking about. This guy will stand and bang with you 7 days a week and win every time. But when you deal with someone that's a little more grappling heavy, someone like Usman, somebody like Covington, even somebody like Leon Edwards, that's where things get dicey for Jorge Masvidal. And I think Colby might have his way with them. the same way he did with Tyron Woodley, the same way he did with Robbie Lawler. Yeah, Colby is just he's real good, man. He's
And
real freaking good.
it seems like all the odds are stacked against Masvidal in this one. That's rough. I looked it up on Google and now I can't find anything about it. So I don't know if I was being trolled. Maybe it was a meme and I didn't notice.
I mean,
But
it makes sense
yeah,
to
it
make
could
that
have
fight regardless.
it could have been a rumor that Dana, I believe, hinted on being correct. He just okay. So I think that's what it was. So don't hold me on that. Don't come to my house and
No, I
shoot
mean,
me.
nobody's gonna hold it against you. But I mean, I'll
I
find
mean,
you and I'll fucking kill you. But like, no,
as long as you won't hold it against me, you can do all the rest. That's fine. That's perfect.
It's a fight that makes sense. I think
Yeah.
it's a fight that's gonna happen at some point, regardless, right?
Mhm.
Who does Usman have a new opponent yet? Is there a title contender right
I don't
now at
think so.
170?
No, I really don't
Well,
think so.
if Colby beats, honestly, I would put Colby against Usman before I put him against Masvidal. I don't know. I think Colby's. I don't think there's anyone at 170 more deserving of a rematch or just a shot at Usman period than
Mhm.
Colby Covington. He also put on a great performance
Oh, I'm
against
sorry.
Usman.
Kamaru has Gilbert Burns. He's so forgettable, even though I love him so much.
Jesus.
It's just everything that's been happening with Gilbert. It's easy to kind of
Yeah,
forget he's in the
dude.
picture.
Yeah, especially because that was one of the first fights that really got like one of the biggest fights that got
Yeah.
fucked up right
Yeah.
away during the whole pandemic thing was when Gilbert tested positive and that title fight fell apart, and then Masvidal steps in on like what 3 days notice, 5 days notice, something
Eating
like
pizza,
that, something
trying to make weight.
crazy. Yeah, he made it.
Who
He
knows? Maybe
freaking made it.
he'll have a better time under a full camp, quotation marks. Because I mean, there have been rumors that he did have a full camp for that fight with Covington. Not that he was training for Covington specifically, but he still was in shape. I think he might have just been misleading people.
Masvidal?
Yeah, there's been a lot of say that he did have a full camp. I know that's like
I mean,
yesterday's news. Obviously that's a long time ago, but there's a lot of variables that are not concrete that kind of make it difficult to predict how that fight's going to go, but I would still say Covington gets it regardless, just because it's stylistically. Yeah, it's welterweight is really fun, and I am super excited to see what goes on with it.
In regards to the whole full camp thing, I mean, I tend to think that these really high level fighters are kind of perpetually in camp. I of course the degree of training and the magnitude of it and the intensity of it is gonna increase those 4, 5, 6 weeks leading up to the fight. But I mean, I don't think guys like Jorge Masvidal, who are top welterweights in the world, are just sitting on their ass when they don't have a bout scheduled or aren't not something that's in an immediate view. I think these guys are always training, but yeah. Do we have a date yet for the Gilbert title fight? Gilbert Kamaru fight?
I don't know. I
feel
believe
like
it
we
got
don't.
rescheduled to December, but it's December
No,
and I
no
haven't heard
way.
anything about it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not in December. We would have heard more about it last night because they were last night. They were really pushing.
Oh wow, this was supposed to happen on July 11th. Damn, that's insane.
Yeah, it feels so long ago, but
Okay, so
yeah,
then it got canceled off of 256 because I remember Usman needed more time to recover from an injury. Okay, now it's all coming back to me, all the lore. I believe they said January, late January is when they're planning to reschedule it.
Speaking of the rest of December, you see this UFC 256
Oh
card?
yeah. Oh
Dear God. Now, I bet a lot of I hate to sound so pessimistic, but I bet a lot of these fights fall through. Because if last night is any indication, to a degree, we have to expect that fights get canceled. Right.
And it's only going to get worse as the months go on here in terms of like the cases and all that. So the likelihood of more events being canceled is probably just going to keep going up and up and up as the year goes on.
Yeah, I mean, it crossed my mind last night that they might cancel that event outright, but they didn't, which, I mean, I'm glad they didn't. But man, it was, I think if one more fight got canceled, that would have been the end of
Yeah, that
that
would have been
event
rough.
last night.
Damn,
Because
that's a nice card. Mackenzie Dern, Angela Hill, Tisha Torres, Cub Swanson. That's the prelims. And
yeah,
early prelims have your favorite fighter, Billy Quarantillo. Your man. I
yeah,
know you like him. Chase
that's
Hooper, Dwight Grant, Sergey Spivak. Damn, a lot of really. And then the main card, obviously, Tony Ferguson's on there. Charles Oliveira, the same person. Never made that connection before, but it's 100% valid. They
yeah,
look the same.
they
They,
do look
yeah,
alike.
they
I
fight the
really,
same too. Don't forget that.
oh yeah,
It's unparalleled.
I really like that heavyweight fight, Cyril Gane and JDS. That's
Oh,
awesome.
Gane's
I
been looking
like,
like a prospect and a half to start being the getting up there
yeah,
in contention.
he's a scary dude. And
Yeah.
then Jacare and Kevin Holland, that's also a great fight. Two guys that
I
are
feel like
recovering from COVID.
yeah, I feel like Kevin Holland is on every single card. He's just always
He
somewhere
is,
fighting
dude.
somebody. I love it.
He was supposed to be fighting
Yeah.
Hermansson last night.
Yeah. That would have been a fucking great fight.
That's probably a fight we should like actually talk about.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Hermansson and Vettori.
Yeah, other than that on that main card, you just have Davidson obviously and then Renato Moicano and Brandon Moreno. You get the idea. But yeah, the card that we're supposed to be talking about, UFC Hermansson versus Vettori, the Italian Jesus comes out and starches Jack Hermansson in that first round, and then I don't think he ever recovered from that. And then it was a dog fight, but I think Vettori just was always one step ahead, just in every department in the
Yeah.
entire fight.
Um, I'm happy for Vettori that he didn't finish the fight in the first round. I was saying this to you last night.
Yeah.
I think if um if the fight ended in the first round, which it came extremely close to ending in the first round, I think Vettori, we may not have held Vettori in the same regard that we're holding him in right now. So we probably would have said, and when I say we, I mean the general MMA fan base, the general consensus I think would have been, okay, yeah, Vettori comes out like a bat out of hell. He hits real hard. He's super aggressive. He caught Jack Hermansson. We didn't really get to see much more than that. But no, that's not what happened. Instead, we have Vettori go 25 minutes and look like a title contender, and beat a guy who everyone thought was going to be the next Israel Adesanya opponent. And he went in there and was just straight left hand down the pipe over and over and over. There wasn't a ton of shot variety, if you'll
No.
notice. These between both guys, they were standing in front of each other and just trading lefts and right hands. And Vettori was just landing the cleaner, harder, more damaging shots and never took his foot off the gas for a moment. And I think he really impressed everyone with his ability to do that for 25 minutes. Again, I think not getting the finish in the first round was a good thing for him. I really do, because he was able to show so much more of his game. He was able to show a little bit of the ground game and, show he was no slouch on the ground. And this is a big loss for Hermansson, a really big loss. This is a number 4 guy who has been, in and out of fights, in and out of opponents with COVID and everything. And I think everyone thought this was your next Israel Adesanya opponent. And then he goes out there and he gets battered for 25 minutes against a number 12 guy at the time. That's a big loss for Jack, but a huge win for Marvin.
I really do like Marvin, though. I didn't really know that much about him going into this, so I don't want to say I wrote him off, but I definitely wrote him off completely, and I was like,
Yeah.
Jack Hermansson's going to come in there and just sweep the floor with him. But, oh my god, I really like Marvin. He's got his technique, and I know, like you said, he just throws that left cross over and over and over again, but he does it so well, and he just constantly keeps the pressure, and to do that against someone like Jack, who I think Jack's mainly a Greco-Roman guy, right? He just tries to wrestle with you. And wear you out, and it totally shut down his game plan, even on the ground. Marvin Vettori reversed a lot of Jack Hermansson's stuff too. Even when he ended up on his back, he reversed that as well. He just seems like Jack Hermansson, but better. I guess the Italian version is just more advanced. But Jack, I feel bad for him. He was just having a really rough time. He didn't know after that first round. He really didn't know what was going on. His corner, you could tell. If you got some translations, obviously it's a different language than something I know. But he did not know what round it was. He did not know how many rounds were left. He was just utterly confused on what was going on, and this was happening throughout the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. In the fourth round, he didn't know how many rounds were left. He just kept asking them how many rounds were left. What is this? Oof. Where am I? And then he broke his foot in the third, and he yelled to his corner, "I broke my foot," and they yelled, "I don't give a shit," or something like that. And he stopped, obviously, throwing kicks at that point. He was just having a rough time, yeah. A guy was translating a lot of it, and I was really finding a lot of insight into that. It was just that first round. If that didn't happen, I think you would have seen a completely different fight. Obviously, that's not the way it went. Marvin Vettori flatlined him, almost killed him. But yeah, that was really, really interesting to hear the feedback from Jack in his corner. It was just kind of giving you a narrative on what was going on. And you don't hear that too often. Obviously, you don't want to give away if you're hurt or whatnot, but most people don't expect you to actually translate what they're saying, I suppose.
Yeah. So I didn't know that about the foot. I knew his leg or his foot or something was fucked up at the end of the fight because he was limping hard.
His corner wasn't very sympathetic towards him, though, obviously.
I bet he broke his foot throwing a kick because there were some nasty kicks he was throwing that Marvin was blocking with his forearm, and I thought Marvin broke his arm at one point because he kind of grimaced and was like grabbing at it. And I mean, I think it was hurt regardless. I don't know if it was broken.
From the replay I watched, I believe it was a calf kick that Marvin checked, and it was just the wrong angle, and it just shattered his foot.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, jeez, I mean, he really fought through it.
For him. Good for him, dude. You could tell, like, walking back to his corner and, just coming out to each round, he was just having a tough time, just mentally, physically. Another interesting aspect I found was someone commented this, and they were basically just saying, like, Jack Hermansson, his entire fight camp was just preparing for an orthodox striker. Darren Till's southpaw, but he mainly switches stances. Kevin Holland, obviously orthodox, and the one punch that Marvin Vettori hit him with, and he's so skilled with, is that left cross that Jack was just not training for, obviously. So it's fun to just think about how much these other variables played into things, and obviously not training a certain way will hinder you in a fight. But how would this have gone if he was actually fighting someone who he was supposed to fight? That's the thing. And I feel wrong knocking him back or taking points off his stock because this was a late replacement for a pretty different fighter, even though he might have been better or worse than, Darren Till and Kevin Holland and whatnot. But I feel like it's hard to take away Jack Hermansson's stock. I feel like he was just getting the shit end of the stick the entire night, the entire pre-fight camp. I would be totally understandable if Jack was just. I would be understanding if Jack was just the most frustrated person in the world right now. I'd be like, I get it. I understand. You've earned that right to be absolutely frustrated with this situation you've been put in. That just weighs everything against you. Yeah.
He's got to be, because he's, like I said earlier, he was a number 4 guy, probably one of the few in the short line on the short list for Israel Adesanya opponents. And then he goes up against a number 12 guy who I think everyone kind of wrote off and didn't really give a fair shake to. And he gets battered for 25 minutes. That's extremely frustrating. Not to mention the change in opponents all throughout these weeks leading up. And I think you're right about the whole southpaw versus southpaw struggles he had. It was something that was brought up on the broadcast, I believe. I think Dom was saying it. It turned into a lot of range management and foot placement that he wasn't really able to get a read on. And Marvin was just first every time, stepping forward, throwing that left, Hermansson, it felt like he was never really on the offense, except for maybe I think it was the third round. Third round, he probably won. I think he won that on most judges' scorecards. And Trevor Wittman, was saying how he saw a tide shift in the fight. I did as well. I thought Marvin was slowing down, and I thought Hermansson was waking up and having like a late fight resurgence, and then that just didn't really carry over into the next two rounds, and then Marvin just took over. But yeah, it's tough if you're Jack Hermansson right now. I do feel for the guy. Props to him for putting on such a tough ass fight. One of the better middleweight fights I think we've ever seen. Like, I'd put it up there with Izzy and Kelvin Gastelum and Whitaker and Romero. Like, it was a damn fun fight to watch. Like, it wasn't like, freaking mind-blowing technical striking. It was pretty simple, actually. It was a bit like a boxing match, but so damn fun to watch. Props to both of those guys for going out there and putting on such a great show under such rough circumstances. This changing in opponents, all the positive testing, and the event being kind of chaotic and all over the place with fights being shifted. Like, they both I feel like had to go through a lot to get to that fight last night, and then obviously go through a lot during the fight itself. And I just have massive respect for both of those dudes. I'm excited to see what's next for both of them. I think you're right. I don't think we should, just throw Hermansson in the trash and forget about him. Put him against Till. Both coming off losses now. I think that's a good fight still to make. For whenever that can happen, whenever both guys are healthy or whatever the circumstances may be. I think that's a good fight to make. Now, we have to talk a bit about Marvin's call out. So after the fight, Vettori calls out Paulo
Romero.
Costa.
Very interesting. Yeah, it's
Yoel Romero, come back to the UFC.
I guess nobody told him. It's crazy.
No, so he calls out Paulo Costa. And I think the general consensus is like, oh, hell yeah, that's awesome. Like, I saw people on Reddit and on Twitter, and they were all like, yeah, that's a great fight. Let's do that. Vettori and Costa gets brought up to Dana during the post-fight press conference. Dana, yeah, I'm all about that. Both guys are willing. Let's make that fight happen. Then Vettori comes out in his press conference and goes, actually, no, never mind. I want the title fight. Did you hear that?
I did not. This is news to me.
Yeah.
I was not able to catch the post-fight presser. That's wow.
Yeah.
That's a little ambitious, don't you think?
He basically says, like, I don't know what I was thinking by calling out Paulo Costa. He's coming off a terrible loss. I don't want that. I just beat a number 4 guy in spectacular fashion. I want the title fight. And then one of the journalists was like, well, Israel is planning to go up to 205 to fight Jan Blachowicz, and Vettori is very adamant that fight is not going to happen. Like, and the journalist was like, but what if it does? Then what? And he's like, I don't see it. I don't think it's going to happen. He said Israel's full of shit, and I was like, okay, fair enough. I think the Costa fight is a much better idea for you right now, but despite his performance last night, Israel Adesanya, dude, I don't know.
I don't think that's in the stars.
I don't see it right now.
A dazed and confused Jack Hermansson was landing pretty consistently, not often, but consistently. So.
Yeah, well, here's an interesting statistic. That was the most significant strikes landed in a middleweight fight, surpassing, I think the record holder at that time was one of the Whitaker Romero fights.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
One of the Whitaker Romero fights, and now it's this fight. Most significant strikes landed in a middleweight. I don't know if it was a middleweight main event or just a middleweight fight period. I want to say it was just a middleweight fight period.
I would say so. That makes sense. That was a fun war that they got into.
But you're right. Vettori was getting hit a bit.
I mean, not
And
bad, but he was still getting hit, and
he
obviously
was,
Israel's gonna take advantage of that much more than someone like Jack will when he doesn't even know what round it is.
yeah, dude. I mean, Israel is just like Israel's the best striker in MMA right now. Like, he's one of the best strikers of all in mixed
In
martial
just
arts
combat sports
history.
history in general, I would say
Like,
this dude's a legend.
vintage Anderson, and I don't know. I don't know who else you put up there with him.
Conor
Um,
McGregor.
Connor, no, yeah. I mean, yeah.
That would actually be a fun fight.
I don't think you're a filthy casual for saying Connor is one of the best strikers in MMA history. I think that's absolutely true. I think people overestimate his overall game and what he's capable of, but his striking is he's one of the best strikers of all time. Vintage Anderson, one of the best strikers of all time. Israel, one of the best of all time. I mean, go watch his fight against Costa. I've watched it a few times. I've watched breakdowns on it. It's fascinating what he does. His just the breadth of his game, and what he manages to do to guys. He's not the kind of guy that just goes out there and sprays. He aims and fires, as he says. It's impressive. It's super impressive. He is to striking what Khabib is to wrestling, where you look at it and you're like, wow, that's mind-blowing what you're managing to do here. Like, that's another level of talent.
I liked Khabib striking in his last bout. The new Khabib, the aggressive Khabib, the Khabib that is unrelenting.
Khabib striking is no joke, dude. Khabib striking is no joke.
I'm so upset he's retiring, but at the same time, I'm happy for him. But I just, oh my God, he just bought an MMA organization.
He did.
I forgot about that.
It's called like Guerrilla Fighting Championship, and he's changing it to, I think, Eagle. EFC, awesome. I think it is. I think it's Eagle Fighting Championship, something like that.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, good for him.
I think he said I forget, it was for a good cause. I just can't remember what exactly the cause was or what his aim was. Probably just to help Dagestanis get out of that rut that they find themselves in a lot during when that growing up phase, because I know that place is a little rough, as he's said multiple times. So
tough life those guys live.
Getting into MMA and all that'll at least help you stay. I guess you could say have your head above water. I don't know. It's weird because I don't live in that culture, so I can't pretend to understand it. But I'm just going off what he says.
Yeah, and he and his father opened up that MMA academy right there, and I think it's in Dagestan in 2019, which I think they used. I imagine they used the money they got from the Conor fight to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have that going for them. Yeah, Khabib's out there doing a lot of great things in that region. So good for him. But yeah. What the hell are we talking about? Marvin Vettori.
Yeah, we were talking about Marvin Vettori fighting Israel Adesanya, and how he should not fight Israel Adesanya right now because Israel is just the best striker probably in the world in the UFC.
Yeah. Yeah. That's basically it. I think Paulo Costa is a much better fight for him, and if he can get past Paulo Costa, then it's like, okay, you are, you're a serious threat to Israel. But we need to see more Marvin Vettori, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's just we need to know for sure that he's ready, I guess, and it's just we just don't have that yet. Mm-hmm. But enough about Marvin Vettori. Who is that guy? I don't know who that is. Let's talk about Ovince St. Preux, the co-main event. You see, OSP is like such a mixed bag with me because I love him. I want to see him do well, but he's in slow motion. He just seems like he's so lackadaisical with his technique, and it works a lot of the time. But I'm seeing now against tougher opponents that it's not exactly working so well.
He's the Cowboy Cerrone of light heavyweight.
Yeah, but I liked his move up a weight class, but that didn't work. Obviously, now he's moving back down. I feel like he's in this perpetual state of just failure, and I hate to see it because I love OSP, but
I love OSP too.
it
OSP
hurts.
is I'm not saying this to be like insulting, but OSP is a gatekeeper through and
Yeah,
through. I mean, he's the definition of a gatekeeper. And yeah, I mean, Jamahal Hill came out there super aggressive and just um beat the shit out of him. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what other way to say it. It OSP is the guy you measure light heavyweights against to see, are they the real deal? And Jamahal Hill is the real deal. We even saw Jon Jones giving him props, and Jon Jones doesn't like anyone except himself. So that's
And his powder.
his powder. Come on, I don't think John does coke anymore.
Are
Come
you sure
on.
about that? He just chases people with shotguns in his neighborhood.
I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with Jon Jones. Are we ever gonna see him fight again? What the fuck is he doing?
Dude, he's keeping his neighborhood safe. It's a full-time job.
Yeah, he's fighting against the Black Lives Matter movement or something.
Probably. He's fighting crime, all right? Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, apparently we're gonna see him at heavyweight. I don't know when the hell that's happening
He
or
looks
who he's
really
gonna fight.
good. He looks so jacked. I'm excited to see this because he's not putting that body to waste, I guess you could say. Like, I thought he'd move up to heavyweight, be like 220, but looks like he's gonna try to put on as much weight as possible and just use that frame. Oh my god, I can't wait.
I mean, I hate that Izzy is moving up to 205 and John is going up to heavyweight. Like, I feel like I don't know. I just don't like the way that's all working out. And we have Marvin Vettori saying the Izzy Jan fight's not going to happen, and I'm like, is he right? Does he have a point here? I don't know. Because like, why hasn't that shit been signed yet? Like, what are we waiting on? Is Izzy moving up to 205 a good idea? What does it mean for middleweight? Why does John want to go up to heavyweight? Like, what? Oh, I would love that. You know how much I would love that.
That leaves the opportunity wide open for Robert Whittaker. I mean, what does he have to face? Paulo? Jared? I mean, Jack? Yoel's gone, so he beat Darren. I mean, he beat Derek. He beat Kelvin. You're pretty sure he beat Uriah. Maybe not. I'm thinking of someone else. Point is, I think Robert would fucking demolish the top 10.
Yeah.
Maybe not Chris Weidman, though. That's a tough fight. That dude can take a punch.
I agree. I think Robert Whittaker could beat most middleweights that aren't Israel Adesanya. Maybe if he went into the Izzy fight differently. I don't know. Hard to say.
Yeah, now that Jon Jones is gone, I mean, Johnny Walker's got a clear path at light heavyweight to become the champion. He's got no holes in his game at all. He's not like Kevin Lee.
Oh, jeez. Yeah,
Tony Ferguson.
I don't know. I feel like Izzy and John are destined to meet each other at some point. And I don't like that, it seems like Izzy moving up to 205 is the perfect storm, but then John's like, nope, I'm going to go up to heavyweight because DC did it, and I have to beat DC in everything I do. And I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Well, I could see it because there's no real competition for John at light heavyweight except for the last two fights, last two fighters that you could argue that beat him. No competition there, right?
He's been having kind of a rough time. There's been a noticeable decline in his game.
I don't think he's moving as a plan to further his destiny or his legacy. I think he's moving as a plan to preserve his legacy because I think he knows light heavyweight's compromised for him.
But you think he'll have an easier time at heavyweight?
I think that he's going to try something new with his newfound bulk and just try, because obviously his method at light heavyweight and his frame isn't giving him the advantage that it used to, and he just can't keep up with the skills, it seems, of the new talent. I think he'd have a decent time at heavyweight, probably easier than light heavyweight, but when you have guys like Stipe, Miocic running around, that's kind of the exception. Like, what do you plan to do to Stipe? I don't think that's going to go well for John.
I think he has a real tough time with Stipe, but
I think
some of the other heavyweights
probably do fine. But
some of the other heavyweights, yeah, I mean, let's look at these heavyweight rankings. Francis, that would
I would
I don't
give
know.
that to Jon just because of his abnormal length and
Yeah,
gas tank. But the thing
Curtis
about moving to
Blades.
heavyweight is that you basically just have that one shot potential at like John Vellante could knock out Jon Jones if he landed a lucky punch at heavyweight. He probably couldn't do that at light heavyweight. You know what I mean? Like you just have that
Yeah,
so much more mass to deal with that you're now allowing this lucky shot to be a real problem. And we've seen him get hit pretty hard at light heavyweight again because some people like Dominic Reyes just know how to get around his guard. Uh, so yeah, I think honestly Francis might be an issue because Francis is just an issue for everyone who has a brain and a human skull. It's just
that could be knocked out of consciousness. Yeah.
Curtis would be fun, but I don't see that going anywhere near Curtis's way. I think Jon is a better wrestler.
I'm looking at the top 15 right now, and I think Jon Jones beats most of these guys. The only person I don't give him a solid shot. Well, I shouldn't say I don't give him the most competitive fight by far would be Stipe, obviously.
Right.
Stipe would give him, I think, a real hard time. But most of these other guys, Rosenstruik, I think he'd pick him apart. Derek Lewis, he beats easy. Alistair,
that's a tough one. Alistair's a loose cannon.
He might have some trouble with Alistair, but I still think he wins. Volkov, I think he demolishes him. JDS demolishes
him. Poor Volkov. He's just a Russian
Shamil Abdermakiyov. I'm not even sure I know exactly who that is.
I don't think that's a real person.
I need to look at his... Oh, okay. I recognize this guy now. Yeah, kills him. Augusto Sakai kills him. Yeah. Olenek kills him. Walt Harris kills him. I mean, all these guys. He
what
demolishes.
About Blagoy?
Like leaves him for dead. I mean, absolutely.
He's gonna appear from under the octagon, grab his fucking legs,
like Undertaker.
Right yeah.
Like Undertaker. Yeah.
It's Jon's home.
Yeah, Francis and Stipe are the toughest fights for Jon Jones at heavyweight. I would say Curtis too, but I don't know. I don't think Curtis would be able to take Jon down.
No.
I think Jon's takedown defense is too good.
I think Jon would take down Curtis.
Yeah.
Honestly, at will. Just because you've seen him do it to DC at will, it's like you can't do that to someone like DC, and DC is a far better wrestler than Curtis. So I think he would have a fine job with just inside or outside trips against the cage, just knocking him right down like a bowling pin. Not to say that he wouldn't have a lot of resistance. I just think that he's just a way higher caliber than Curtis.
And I mean, Stipe would be a tough fight for him because Stipe is the most intelligent heavyweight. Has the most complex striking and game to figure out.
Tongue language.
He
speaks the dragon tongue.
The Dovahkiin. But and then Francis, I still think he beats Francis, but the thing is Francis could, separate anyone from consciousness at any moment. So that's always a risk. Like Rosenstruik, for example. I think Rosenstruik is a better striker than Francis. Rosenstruik has a very decorated kickboxing background, and I think it just has much more intelligent striking than Francis Ngannou. But it doesn't matter when you have a fucking wrecking ball of a human coming at you.
You have two Ford Escorts on each hand.
Yeah, just throwing those Ford Escorts at your face. Like all your intelligent striking doesn't mean shit, I guess, unless you're Stipe, who just was able to, roll with it. But that was a different Francis. That was a different Francis. I think that fight Stipe would have a much tougher time with Francis today than he did back then. But nonetheless.
Francis did not adapt well to Stipe at all during the fight. Mm-hmm. You have to expect him to duck under your hooks. Stop throwing the hooks.
Yeah, I mean...
He was just a hook machine that first fight. He just wouldn't stop, just trying to take his head off. You just got to fight a little more slowly, a little more methodical with someone like Stipe. Keep your... I don't know. I mean, I'm not a fighter like him. I'm just going to say this is the winning formula, but I do feel like you could analyze that and say this would probably work better against his style of fighting. Stipe will avoid most of your punches if you just have the biggest wind up for them humanly possible. He telegraphs everything. I feel like Francis should have just tried to touch him. You know, you hear all the commentators talking about, oh, you just gotta touch him. You know, if you can't take his head off, just start touching him, and then it'll just come from there. I think he would do much better focusing on not killing him immediately, and just wearing him down and getting the TKO.
Yeah, I mean that was a different Francis Ngannou
Yeah.
back then. I think the Francis of today would be much more apt to.
That was the ego Francis.
Play that game smarter. Well, that was the Francis that didn't have much to his game other than his knockout power. He didn't have a wrestling game at all. His cardio was not very good. Even his striking was not terrific. It was all power. It was all power, very little technique. And that could only take you so far when you're dealing with a guy like Stipe Miocic. And I think Francis realized that after that fight was good for him. He learned a lot from that fight, and he's looked very good ever since, with the exception being the Derek Lewis fight. But whatever, we're past that now. I'd love to see that rematch. Am I a crazy person?
No, I would like to see that too. I think that when Francis fought Stipe for the first time, he thought he was completely invincible. He thought he had no chance of losing. He goes in there, he gets beaten. That cold turkey ego crash, that just killed him. And I think that if he fought now, knowing that, hey, I'm not invincible, but I'm also I'm probably one of the best heavyweights in the world, let's just let's do our thing, I think he would have a easy time with Derek. Easy. Not to say Derek's a bad fighter, obviously. He's a lesser caliber in my opinion. He has less tools, and frankly, I don't know how his gas tank would hold up. They both have horrible gas tanks compared to someone like Stipe, but Derek, man, he was something else. I mean, you got to remember too, Francis is a newer fighter too. He hasn't been training MMA very long, compared to some of these guys like Stipe and John and DC. I don't think Derek has either. So I would like to see that matchup as well. I think that would go differently, like you said, and I think that's just a fun time all around. Just because of the first fight. I just, people are going to want to see that shit again. Because if it goes that way again, it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's a good talking point,
it was, you remember that time? You and I, our buddy came over who is not, as big of an MMA fan as you and I are. And we were hyping this fight up so hard. We were like, dude, these guys are two just knockout artists. They have some of the most brutal KOs in all of heavyweight MMA. They're going to come out. It's going to be a war. First guy that gets touched is going down. It's going to be intense. And then that fight happened the way it did. We got roasted by this friend of ours.
Got toasted real hard.
Who, it just thought it was hilarious that you and I were hyping this fight up so hard, and then it just fizzled out into shit. Which I think we hyped up.
We hyped up a couple fights like that, and that always goes the same way.
Didn't we hype up Masvidal and Askren too?
Yes. We also hyped up Masvidal versus Usman, but obviously that's a different story. We're like, this is gonna be insane.
We buy the wolf tickets, as Nick Diaz would say. We drink Dana's secret sauce.
Milk. We drink Dana's milk.
Oh God, that's so nasty.
Oh, dude, anything he spits out, I'm just like, hand it over.
I'm like, yep, give it to me, Uncle Dana.
Give me all of it. I still have a Fight Pass subscription. Do I use Fight Pass? I haven't used it in the last year, but
yeah, because ESPN Plus is the thing.
Well, here's the thing. I thought I canceled my thing. I went on every single email I have that would be associated with Fight Pass, and I have no subscription, and yet it bills me every month. So I'm just like, I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm just gonna ignore it and hope it goes away. Anyway, aside from UFC Fight Pass scamming me,
oh well,
I feel like it's gonna be a fun transition point in 2021, just because we have all these new fighters going to new divisions, like we just talked about. Obviously, I think 2021, if the UFC doesn't die instantly from rising COVID cases, we get a vaccine out, whatever, I think it'll be super fun, because this is just a door into so many questions. How does this work? How does this guy do here? I love that. And I think it's a bad year for my anxiety when I watch these fights, because it's like, this is a lot to take in, but I think it's going to be exhilarating, to say the least, when they do eventually make these moves. But unfortunately, Marvin Vettori has canceled Israel Adesanya's move to light heavyweight, so
Shit.
it's a shame. We can't have that anymore.
Canceled the Jan Blachowicz fight.
So Peter Yan is moving up to light heavyweight to fight Jan Blachowicz.
Oh,
So
sick.
that's good.
About damn time.
Predicted by Marvin Vettori himself, the all-seeing eye,
the all-seeing Italian,
the undercover CEO of the UFC and matchmaker.
He's gonna be the first Italian in like top 5, top
That's
10,
awesome.
whatever it is, rankings. Yeah. Good for him.
Reebok should give him like pizza shorts, just like coated in pepperoni and cheese.
That is some shit they would do and not realize. Like,
yeah, unironically.
Yeah. You'd be like, this is what Italian people like, right?
Put some Ferraris on there. Ferrari labeled pepperoni. Oh man.
Yeah, Reebok sucks. Anyway.
But yeah, other than that, on the fight card, we saw. I mean, Gabriel, that was a good fight versus Justin James. Roman Dolce and John Allen. I mean, that was kind of a war. That was fun. But I don't know. Do you have anything you want to talk about other than these two?
Marnia Moros.
Prelims?
Marnia Moros. She didn't fight last night. She's just like beautiful. And I just wanted to say that. I'm looking at her Instagram as we speak.
Who is it?
Because she's I want to say a 125er.
What's her name? Marlon Moraes?
It's Maryna Moros. Moroz.
I got a St. Mary's College is my first thing. Marcos Villarato, writer.
Yep, that's her. Nah, you probably spelled it wrong. Oh, yeah. Anyway, that's the love of my life right now. You know this already. I have a few UFC fighters I'm obsessed with. Female UFC fight. I have no idea. Amanda Hebos. Love of my life.
She's just got the personality of a champion.
Rose Namajunas.
Champion, but you know.
Love of my life. Even though Pat Barry is, that's his wife.
Sahara Eubanks, love of my life.
Nah, I'm okay.
Aw, come on, give some love to Sahara. She's like the main event, winner.
Mackenzie Dern is like good looking, but I don't know. I don't really like her.
She's kind of I don't want to say a ditz, but she's kind of a fraud.
Her fake accent.
That's the first sign of like a fraud. You can't just fake an accent like that and expect people to think you're like a real person. Like, this is a facade.
Yeah.
But I don't know that. I'm just assuming.
No, that's
don't come to my house, Mackenzie.
That's a fake ass accent. Come on.
Do not throw me in the triangle joke. Oh no. Anyway.
Is this the end of our comeback tour?
I think other than Nate Robinson having a fantastic boxing debut, there's not much else to talk about.
God.
We actually were going to get him on the podcast, but I think he slept in.
He's still concussed. Wait, Nate, you aren't supposed to sleep when you have a concussion like that.
Oh, not his choice.
Isn't that that's a thing, right? You weren't supposed to sleep when you're concussed because it could
be a thing.
You can go into like a coma.
That's either a thing or it's like,
or it's not.
It's a myth, like an urban legend that you tell your kids, like
right.
You tell them you walked uphill both ways in a snowstorm to school every day.
Yeah,
it's not real.
I walked through the trenches of Normandy to get to high school when I was, yeah.
So
bullshit.
I don't know.
All right, I've had enough of this.
What if that's how like Joe Rogan ended his podcast? I've had enough of this.
That's how Wings of Redemption ends his streams.
That's the stream for today. Welcome to Band World, Kelly. All right. Well, this has been the Caffeinated Combat Christmas special, the return. Thank you for watching.
Our reawakening after Intoxicated Combat.
We finally slept off the hangover. We were chugging raw eggs every day.
Raw eggs mixed with Modelo.
Yeah, mixed with...
Brewed for those with a fighting spirit. Brian Ortega was given a choice.
No.
Amanda Nunes doesn't let stereotypes sit in her way.
Oh, God.
Stipe is a firefighter.
Oh, no.
That's Modelo.
He's gone AWOL, folks. He's now a Modelo sponsorship sleeper agent. We got to get out of here quickly. The numbers, what do they mean?
They programmed me, Mason.
In Vorkuta, Modelo's headquarters.
Steiner, he put the numbers in me. The Modelo numbers.
All right, well, thank you for joining us. Have a Merry Christmas.
We're gonna do another one before Christmas, bro. It's December 6th.
What do you...
It's December 6th. Christmas is for another 2 weeks.
Thank you for watching the Christmas special. We'll be back on January 4th. There's a lot of good cards coming up, so
yeah.
Don't worry. Ren has been starved for this content, you know.
All right, I gotta go to the bathroom. Could we?
I want to continue the outro a little more. Maybe a couple more minutes of the outro sequence, you know. All right, well, thank you for watching, Ren.
Bye-bye.
I'll see you.